How can an electrical engineering firm for data centers improve its business agility? How can an electrical engineering firm for data centers improve its business agility? I think the number one way for any kind of company in and around the data center industry to improve its business agility is to increase the amount of time that you're spending with your most important customers, and specifically the most important buyer personas within your most important customers. I think there's so much to be gained from research that often falls on the floor, that you can gain simply by showing up and engaging and asking questions and listening, that so many other companies that you compete with in this space are just completely missing because they're looking in all the wrong places. Like, in other words, if you think about a typical company that is engaging with data center, electrical engineering would be facility managers, right? So they're engaging with facilities managers and they're going to all these conferences. But the reality is what they should be doing is, before they make these conference investments, they should at least be looking carefully at the media kits and looking at the demographics of last year's attendees and the forecast for this year's attendees to find out what percentage of the attendees actually are from the companies that you want to do business with. And specifically, are the stakeholders that you want to be building these relationships the ones that are showing up? So when we think about, like, if you're building your own go-to-market strategy, you'll have your own ideal client profile that defines at a company level and account level where your companies are, where the data centers are located. Are they in your region, in your state or province, country, in your continent, where have you? There's a geographic parameter for sure to that. Then there's a company size parameter, like for your electrical engineering services. What's too big, what's too small, what's just right? What's the company size bracket, at least in terms of number of employees? You might start with a definition based on megawatts or square footage or something like that. But at the end of the day, for actioning a go-to-market plan for your sales and marketing impact, that'll need to be converted to a number of employees, just simply because the entire LinkedIn platform runs based on employee brackets, whether it's or outbound sales navigator or campaign management ads or something like that. But LinkedIn is extremely centered around company size targeting. And then there's like a business model component to this too, because depending on where these data centers are located, they may be in a highly regulated environment or an unregulated environment. And that can impact like who the ideal clients are. So when it comes to business agility, I think improving the focus so you know exactly the right companies and exactly the kinds of stakeholders within those companies, the buyer personas that you want to build relationships with, can be exceptionally valuable. So once you have those crisp definitions of who the people are and who the companies are, every time you make a decision as to whether you're going to invest time and resources to attend, sponsor, speak at, participate in any kind of field marketing or association or event, I want you to look at those things side by side and see how close the match is. What percentage of the attendees last year and forecasted for this year line up perfectly or line up reasonably well with your target list, your target account list, your ideal client profile, and on the individual level at the stakeholder level. Because again, what we want to do is have you spend meaningful face time with the right people in the right places at the right time and in the right context. And if it's not from the right companies and if it's not the right people, you're going to get a lot of noise that may not be especially helpful for anything, and certainly not your agility. So when it comes to agility, you're looking to typically increase the speed at which you learn and the speed at which you iterate. And I'm a huge proponent that your team now needs to be showing up as consultants and teachers and trusted advisors and subject matter experts and thought leaders, as opposed to just vendors. Because when they do that, it enables you to make investments in things that not just are helping your marketing and sales, but they're helping to understand what you should do next as a business. Like if you had a product manager, what would feed your product insights and your strategic roadmaps? And all of that will have an enormous impact on business agility. So it's things like running surveys and crunching those numbers and publishing research reports. That for sure increases your business agility. It's being able to host a podcast or webinar panels or offline events where you're interviewing your most successful customers, and which more than likely is going to be data center managers or facility managers, and looking for what they have in common, what clusters, what groups, what do you keep hearing over and over and over again? And the faster you can capture those insights, the faster you can feed those insights into your roadmap, into your overall company strategy, the more agile you can be, the more responsive you can be with all of this. Another thing I think that's incredibly important to improving agility is company culture and alignment and collaboration. I see in so many companies, especially when it comes to how marketers and sales professionals and customer success and product and channel managers work together, that in many cases, there's a lot of fighting for credit. There's a lot of fighting for resources. A lot of teams are severely under resources with ridiculous expectations. And because of that, there's an enormous amount of turnover or churn within the company. If you are not sure if your company is falling into this, you could spend a few minutes just looking at reviews in places like Glassdoor.com and see what current and past employees are saying about these kinds of issues. But if there's any kind of alignment issues that are preventing like elite world-class kind of collaboration from happening with members of your team, that needs to be fixed at an executive level. And in many cases, depending on your company size, it's a CEO level kind of problem. Obviously, if you have an enterprise, it's probably not getting all the way up to, with thousands or tens of thousands of employees, it's more than likely not getting all the way up to the CEO. But if you have like a small to mid-sized company with a couple dozen or a few hundred employees, and there's major problems in the revenue function and the client-facing kinds of roles that are preventing collaboration, that for sure is messing up your business agility. So yeah, you definitely want to address that around the same time, because happy clients are usually the byproduct of having happy employees. Miserable employees, toxic workplace kind of things lead to not happy outcomes, especially when those folks are client facing. So make sure, if you're serious about improving how your brand is perceived in the space and having a strong market presence and the positive impact that can have on getting your growth flywheel to turn faster in business agility, it really starts by looking at a cultural issue, what you want to be known for in the marketplace, and making sure you're positioning yourself in a way that helps you to stand out, not just at the last final stages of the journey, the last 17% of a typical journey at the decision stage, but allows you to stand out and have an active role in conversations and educating and building trust with prospects and clients throughout their full journey. That's going to give you a tremendous amount of data that will help inform and improve your business agility over time, regardless of what you're doing within the data center industry, including electrical engineering.